Hey everyone, it's a Phoam Ranger here with Phoam Ranger Sports. This one we're just going over a lot of news that has happened since July 1st. Again, July 1st was the official start of the new Scholastic Athletic year and the first official day of the revamped Pac-12. All the teams had, or program schools had their own little launch parties. For Boise State, it was on the blue, and at Boise State, it was announced that they are going to, this season during football, be unveiling a statue of Kellen Moore, which is pretty dang cool. And during the ceremony, it was also announced on social media about the men's basketball, the basketball conference tournaments. They'll be held the 9th to 13th of March in Las Vegas at the MGM Garden Grand Arena. It'll be a double bye since Tracy Gold was with Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference. And to protect the top two teams of conference, they are doing a double bye for it. So that means that Tuesday is going to be like the 9th seed versus 8th seed in the playing round. Then day 2 is the first round with the 6th seed and 7th seed and 5th seed getting involved in that. The day 3 of the tournament is going to be the quarterfinals with the 3rd seed and 4th seed playing their first games. And the 4th day of the tournament is the semifinals with the 1st seed and 2nd seeds getting their first games in of the conference tournament. Then the 5th day, the 13th, is Saturday the 13th. Or something like that, or 9th or 12th, something like that. Yeah, I think it's the 9th or 12th actually. Then the championship game is on that Saturday. It also was revealed that both sides will be playing every day. So that means women will play first each day, then it'll be the men's side later on, which I think is pretty cool. Again, that was announced on July 1st. Again, just recapping, again, the media partners are USA Network. Of note, just this week, they flew people out to at least the top 4 projected teams, like Boise State, Colorado State, Washington State, Fresno, I believe, or something like that, to have the football facilities in the conference so they could get to know the staff and the field and everything like that pretty well before the football season starts, which I think is pretty cool that the USA Network did that. Because again, like I think it was Fox Sports at times for men's basketball and even football, they would do just remote shows where their commentators would be back home and basically just watching the game on like a TV screen, and then they would be commentating from their home and not actually at the game itself, which is super lame. I mean, it made sense during COVID, but after COVID, it makes no sense. It's pretty lame on them to do that. So I think it's pretty cool that USA Network is making a commitment to going to the games themselves, and that every game that they have on TV is going to be a live game from the actual stadium and not remotely done. Again, that's one of the media partners. Another one is CBS Sports, and I think TNT as well, TBS, something like that. Yeah, so again, it's the USA Network. Oh yeah, for football, it's a C-Dub. Yeah, so USA Network, the C-Dub, and CBS Sports are going to be the main media partners for like football, men's basketball, women's basketball games. Some of the other sports might be on like ESPN Plus. Sounds like Pac-12 is revamping and going to relaunch their app, which I believe people will be able to watch Pac-12 games from. And just in the past couple days, I'm recording this early morning on August 12th, Pac-12 announced that for the fall sports like volleyball, women's soccer, men's soccer, they'll be streaming those games live on YouTube for free. just so that those sports have a home for now. Again, I think those sports are going to go to Pac-12 Network and Pac-12 app, which is still pretty cool that they're allowing people to watch at least the first month or two of the fall season from YouTube, from the Pac-12's YouTube channel. That's pretty dang cool. And also, the Pac-12 released on July 23rd all the championship sites and dates. The very first Pac-12 championship will be the men's women's cross country, which is going to be October 30th, which is going to be in the City of Trees at Boise State. And a note to that as well, former Broncos student athlete, cross country track and field star, and Olympian Marissa Howard is going to be part of the commentary team for that championship meet, which is pretty cool. Women's volleyball is going to be the week of November 23rd. And the site is going to be the location of the first half win percent in Pac-12 play. It's going to be after each team has played every conference opponent once. Then that'll be decided. For men's soccer, it's going to be November 7th to 13th to 14th at the highest seeds host. Football is going to be December 4th at the highest seed hosting that one. Men's soccer is going to be November 11th to 15th at the best 2026 non-conference RPI. So what that means, if Boise State soccer does pretty well in their non-conference RPI, they could potentially host the women's soccer tournament. For new sports, women's swim and dive will be in Houston, Texas, February 24th to 27th. Again, I already mentioned the basketball tournaments. Those are going to be March 9th to 13th at the MGM Gardner Grand Arena in Vegas. Wrestling is going to be March 4th to 5th or 5th through 6th in Little Rock, Arkansas. And gymnastics, women's gymnastics, is going to be March 20th at Oregon State. For spring sports, women's tennis is going to be April 23rd to 25th at Colorado State. Women's outdoor track and field is going to be May 13th to 15th at Fresno State. Women's golf, April 25th to 27th at San Diego State. Softball, May 12th to 15th at Texas State. Men's golf, April 30th through May 2nd in Washington State. And baseball is going to be May 27th to 30th at Oregon State. So that is the Pac-12 championship dates and locations for the 26-27 year. So those are big news themes for the Pac-12 again. Later for Boise State and also Pac-12. Also, just recently, it was announced that the Mountain West and Pac-12 and all the members who departed the Mountain West for the Pac-12 have all agreed to settle all the ongoing lawsuits. So all that's done. And according to Chris Murray of the Nevada Sportsnet and Mark Siegler of the San Diego Tribune, both pretty much said that the money portion of it, the Mountain West is only going to get around $70 million total from the buyouts from the universities and from the Pac-12 conference. It is considered a win for the Pac-12 because the $70 million is only about like 47 cents on the dollar of what the Mountain West was really hoping to get, which was $155 million. A lot of that is because of some of the shenanigans. Mountain West did play a little toward the Pac-12. So Pac-12 is not going to have to pay out as much as they probably would have in terms of like the poaching fees and stuff like that. That's probably only going to be like a $30 million. And the private schools basically got discounts on their leaving fees. Because again, the Mountain West was sold before 18 to 20 million per school. Mountain West is only going to get 9 to 10 million, so only half the amount that they were asking for their departure fees. Again, that's about 45 million. I mean, 45 to 50 million total from the departing schools. And from the Pac-12 itself, it's only going to be like 20 to 30 million. That's going to the Mountain West. So that's a huge win there for the Pac-12. And also, it sounds like that the Mountain West will be paying at least a percentage back of the withholdings they held from the departing schools back to those schools. For example, Boise State, one figure I saw was about 16 million. A lot of it was the CFP Fiesta Bowl withholdings. About Mountain West Conference withheld probably like 6 or 8 million of that. Other postseason themes in UNICEF the Broncos had money from that the Mountain West withheld from Boise State, so the Broncos probably going to get probably a quarter of it, so maybe like 4 to 6 million back from that. So that's going to significantly offset the departure fees a bit too. And a lot of people thinking that if it was 155 million and the teams were pay all 20 million each, would take probably 5+ years to get a return investment from leaving the Mountain West to join the Pac-12. But with the announcement of the settlement, it's looking more only 2 to 3 years instead of 5+ years for return of investment in terms of leaving the Mountain West for the Pac-12 and breaking even on it. What also hurts the Mountain West too is, let's not forget, early on in the legal proceedings, they basically did a memorandum of understanding and a guarantee of rights with Air Force and UNLV about them getting a major portion of the monies that Mountain West was hoping to get from the Pac-12 and the departing members. They were expecting or hoping for 155 million total, so an early number was 90 million each to, or 90 million total, 45 million each to Air Force and UNLV. Again, turns out the Mountain West is probably only getting like $70 million instead of the 155, so they're going to have to share a good portion of that, and the rest of the conference gets pretty little of the money that they're probably hoping for too. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Mountain West as it goes forward in terms of financials and regarding Air Force and UNLV. Because I think Air Force was getting some calls from the American, again UNLV was getting some calls from the Pac-12. So we'll see what happens with that. And for the Pac-12 now, that's about 80 million that the Pac-12 now gets to keep and not have to give the Mountain West, so they could probably go back to schools they previously called up, like Tulane or Memphis, and be like, hey, yes, we did lowball earlier because we weren't entirely sure about how much we really have after the legal proceedings involving the Mountain West Conference, but since we now know we have about 80 million more left over than we did originally, we can definitely sweeten the deal and sweeten the pot more for y'all to join us in terms of helping pay off more of the fees for their departures from like the American or other conferences. Maybe even entice like Cal or Arizona State or Stanford or UCLA back to the Pac-12. Because some of those schools aren't really happy with all the travel for student athlete mental health and mental wellness and physical wellness as well, that all that travel is having on them. So one of those schools might jump at the bit if the Pac-12 were to go off them a substantial amount of money to get back. Maybe we'll see what happens, but Pac-12 definitely has about $80 more million that they're going to have now that they're not having to give the Mountain West because of the settlement that was announced. So that is a massive thing for the Pac-12 going forward. and for the schools that are part of the Mountain West for the Pac-12 going forward. More water quickly. But a massive rule that came out just this past Friday was from the court of law. Well, it happened a month ago, like early July or something like that, that the NCAA did say that they will go forward with the 5-for-5 rule. I mean, then you have 5 years to play 5 seasons. It starts either right after you graduate high school or within 5 years of turning 19, with exceptions being for military service, pregnancy, or if you're Mormon and serving a religious mission, you get an extension or a bit of an exemption from that rule. They will no longer do redshirting going forward. And just this past Friday, a big court case did rule that yes, it also applies for any student athlete who played college sports that was part of the 2022 high school recruiting class. Which means that there are a good amount of student athletes who could come back to schools and have an extra year of eligibility since they are technically grandfathered in. Again, you can't. One of the decisions of that court ruling right now that's being debated over is about transferring. The judge in the case said you can't transfer, if you go back to play college sports for an additional year. It has to be from the school you graduated or last played before you can transfer or grad transfer. So that's one of the contentious issues of this. Right now, again, one of the main ones, though, which is pretty universal, is you can't also have signed with the pro team or sign a pro contract or play professionally, either in the States or overseas, and try to come back to play an additional year at the collegiate level. Now, how this impacts Boise State is, right now, Boise State has had about 5 practices in fall camp. I think it was a week ago from this past Monday, Spencer Danielson had his pre-fall camp presser, and he specifically publicly acknowledged that about one thing about this rule is that they're working or talking with Jeremiah Irby and Braxton Feely to potentially come back for that extra year of eligibility. Again, there's a lot of things they're working through to make that happen. Again, there's still some uncertainty about like roster space and money cap, stuff like that. Scholarship stuff like that. That Spencer and Jeremiah Dickey are working with, along with, Feely and Irby. So that's something that to keep our eyes and ears open about. Seeing if those two can come back to play for one additional year. I mean, that would be a huge booster at defense as well. But again, it's going to be interesting to see how that can impact the makeup of the roster and the locker room. Because again, a lot of the players have known each other since spring ball, including some of the high schoolers that came in early to be able to play in the spring, to go through spring ball, who worked out again this summer and ready 5 practice into fall camp at a minimum. So it's going to be really interesting to see if they can make that happen. Because another big question is, in what condition are Feely and Irby in right now? Are they football ready? Because again, there's been about a week of fall camp already, of practice already done. Right now, they're a little behind the 8 ball, essentially. Because again, they got to learn the coaching staff, got to learn their teammates. And that's a little tricky to do in just a couple weeks, because right now it's August 12th, and in under a month they're playing a big game at Oregon. I'll talk more about that when I actually do the football stuff. But yeah, so that's something to keep your eyes on. Again, other sports might be looking to try, especially the winter and spring sports. They might try to bring some back if possible. I think women's basketball is looking into that as well. Maybe like softball or one of the other spring sports, maybe tennis or gymnastics might try to bring some back again. We'll see what happens. Again, like a lot of the teams right now have the rosters full. Because again, this wrinkle in the college eligibility discussion just came out this past Friday afternoon. So, or yeah, I think it was this past Friday afternoon. So yeah, so everyone's trying to figure out, okay, what this means for not only college sports, but what this means for their teams and their programs, and if they're able to get someone an extra year of eligibility because it got grandfathered in. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but gonna be interesting to see. Yes, but overall, again, this episode was more just catching up on some big news, including the settlement, and as mentioned, the 5.5 and the little wrinkle it's causing right now as of last Friday.